Hello everyone, today we will be looking into the case of Loving v. Virginia. The 19th and 20th centuries were a time of shift and change in terms of civil rights for Black people in America, both positively and negatively. Colonies in America have been regulating marriage since their establishment in the 1600s, promising severe punishment for those who dare to engage in any kind of interracial relationship. Racist ideals were nothing uncommon, specifically in young America, and generations upheld these beliefs far into the 1800s, bringing about the Black Codes, a series of laws focused on segregation, making interracial marriage in southern states completely illegal. In the 1900s, the eugenics movement flowed through America, steering new thoughts about racial superiority and moving backwards, away from accepting mindsets towards interracial relationship and marriages. Though violence, both physical and in thought, against Black people was ongoing, progress was also being made by civil rights activists. A landmark case for Black people in America was the 1967 Supreme Court decision of Loving v. Virginia. The case that struck down not only laws forbidding interracial marriage in the state of Virginia, but in the entire country. In 1958, two residents of Virginia took a trip into the District of Columbia to get married. Their names were Mildred and Richard Loving. Mildred was a Black woman, while Richard was white. When the couple returned to their home in Virginia, they were charged with breaking anti-miscegenation laws, or laws which ban marriage and intimate relationships between members of different races or members of the same sexes. The couple was sentenced to a year in jail and a 25-year ban from the state of Virginia. They felt that this law and punishment violated their Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment, which states, "No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws." This means, in essence, that governments are required to give people equal protection of its governing laws, and only deprive people of their life, liberty, or property after the legal process is applied by a court. In 1967, the court unanimously decided that all anti-miscegenation laws were unconstitutional. Chief Justice Earl Warren wrote, "Under our Constitution, the freedom to marry or not marry a person of another race resides with the individual and cannot be infringed by the state." This decision made a considerable dent in the journey to more rights for Black people in America. This breakthrough case came after another landmark, a case known as Brown v. Board of Education, or the ruling that decided that segregation in public schools is unconstitutional. Chief Justice Earl Warren was also the ruling judge on this case, finding that the separate but equal clause established by the Supreme Court case of Plessy v. Ferguson was in violation of the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. the same reasoning cited in Loving v. Virginia's decision. It's important to note that at the time, segregation was a strict line, never to be crossed or erased. But cases such as these broke this boundary and moved towards making America a safer place for anyone who was not white. Effects of this case also continued to move the country forward, making other activists feel empowered to take their civil rights cases to the higher courts and giving them new hope for the issues that are important to them, as well as its incredible impact on racial justice issues. Loving v. Virginia also had a large impact on issues having to do with same-sex marriage. As previously mentioned, anti-miscegenation laws prevented pretty much any variation from the traditional marriage, one made up of a white man and woman. When Chief Justice Earl Warren ruled that the right to choose who one does or does not marry is up to the individual, movements for same-sex marriage were fueled by the words, using the ruling to explain with legislation how it is up to the individual whom they choose to marry and what gender that person is. In the landmark case of Obergefell v. Hodges, the case known for guaranteeing the fundamental right to marry for same-sex couples under the Due Protection and Equal Protection Clauses of the 14th Amendment, Loving v. Virginia was cited almost a dozen times. Loving v. Virginia was not only impactful in the realms of civil rights and segregation, but also in securing the right to marry for so many others, an impact not originally foreseen in the cases unfolding, but one that can never be forgotten. Thanks to the incredibly brave and persistent efforts of Mildred and Richard Loving, millions of interracial and same-sex couples have been able to be legally married and live out their lives together, as they deserve to do.